Yaniv Dardashti-Weisz,
And I'm Zymal Baig.
and we're here with Mona Swanson and Nancy Kaboolian to discuss the Ardsley Multicultural Diversity and Inclusion Committee.
So Nancy Kaboolian is the mayor of Ardsley, and Mona Swanson is the co-chair of AMDI. So my first question would be, what inspired the creation of the committee, and what caused you to serve on it?
I'll start with the first part of that question. The committee was created shortly after I became mayor in 2017, and the inspiration of the committee was a discussion with a resident during an Ardsley Day event we were having, where she said we should have events where we celebrate our cultural differences and similarities here in the village. And I said, as soon as I become mayor, let's form a committee. And that's how the committee started. It has had, over the years, Mona is our most current co-chair, along with Demetria Jones. It has had three other individuals chair or co-chair the committee over the past 8 years.
And I can answer very clearly why I joined. My career took place at Children's Village, where I was a social worker for 42 years, and I learned a great deal about diversity, inclusion, and inequity in the fields that I worked in. And so in my pre-retirement plan, I decided I wanted to do something regarding this with my community. And so I joined the AMDI committee before I retired, and then 2 years in, I had the opportunity to become the co-chairperson. So, yep.
So what would you guys define as the clear objective of this community?
Well, we can each say, there's something formal written, but I'll just tell you in my own words that I see it as an opportunity for volunteers in the community to come together and work hard to try and ensure that everyone in our town feels welcome, feels included, feels acknowledged. And I'd say the other part is for us to be there to hear from people who are not feeling that, and to see what we can do as a group of residents of Ardsley to kind of address some of those concerns.
And that's actually, the committee has evolved over the number of years. We've had many different kinds of educational and cultural celebrations and events, but the underlying concept of the committee was to recognize that we're all welcome here in Ardsley, and to recognize our cultural differences and similarities, and to educate others in the community about those differences and similarities.
And so how exactly do you go about, educating people, making people feel more included, just how do you go about it overall?
Well, some of the times I feel like a party planner. We actually have a lot of different cultural events. Then they're all volunteer-driven, so people come to us and say, I'd like to do something to represent the Muslim culture, the Jewish culture, the Italian culture, whatever it is. They come to the committee and say they want to do the work to put an event together. And when we meet with them, one of the things we say is that it has to be educational. So one of the components is that there's an educational piece to teach others in the community about what's different about their identity or their culture. So we make that one of the foundations of all these many events that we have.
Was there?
That, Nancy?
Well, we've had, a lot of the events are centered around happy and joyful occasions where there's lots of celebration, Holi and Diwali and Eid, that are children-driven celebrations in many ways. But we've also had book clubs where we, and this was particularly during COVID when we couldn't get out and do some more of these celebrations, we had book clubs. And we also had, going back in the very beginning, a really intense presentation by Daisy Khan, who is a Muslim American, and her experiences post 9/11 in New York. So we've tried to mix it up with lots of celebratory and fun events because people come out for the food and the dancing and the music, but really a lot of it is focused on what we can learn about each other.
So would you say that education is like a driving factor behind people being able to accept each other and work alongside each other? And that's why the committee works to educate people and put people in experiences where they're, involved in other people's cultures?
I think, I'll take this from the moment. I think one of the driving forces and one of the most important things that I have learned through this committee is that the more we know about each other and know about each other's cultures and backgrounds, the more we all just say, we're just people here trying to make a good life for our families. We're all the same. We need to tell people that because I was brought up one way or you were brought up a different way, it doesn't make us different. It just makes us having different experiences. So it's important, I think, through this committee to show people how similar we really are. So many of the events that we put on center around light. We have Christmas, we have Hanukkah, Diwali, Eid. They all have an element of light to them. And it's all about, bringing light forward and hope and a future and growth. So those are things that we're learning when we do these different kinds of events.
I wanted to add to that too, because the people who plan the event, they're also growing and expanding their sense of appreciation because the village welcomes them to do these events. We give a small stipend to most of them. And people describe this feeling of just acknowledgement and happiness that their village cares about them, sees them, and is trying hard to understand them. And that makes a vast difference. Even like we have these banners at the intersection of 9A and Ashford Avenue. So before each event, a big banner goes up. And someone described recently driving past that intersection every day just gave them a sense of well-being, that they live in a town where people care about them. Small things that make a big difference.
So I agree with that because I'm relatively a newer immigrant. I've been in the U.S. for a year almost in Ardsley, and I've always felt so welcome. But I wanted to ask, how would you list that in your own words, any positive impacts or sign of success of the committee on the community?
I mean, we hear it word of mouth. We don't do surveys per se, but we do formal kind of gatherings. We've had a few listening circles already in Ardsley that were sponsored by Greenburgh, actually, and led by Greenburgh facilitators. And people, we've asked people, what is their experience like? Why do they live in Ardsley? Why do they stay in Ardsley after their children have left? I wonder myself sometimes now that I've paid the tax bill. But, we do encourage feedback. And a few years ago, when we had a few of them called community conversations, where we brought large groups of people together and broke into subgroups, again, to talk about what people's experience has been like. And we get a lot of positives. It's not perfect. We have issues that we need to continue to work on, but there is a growing sense, at least in my opinion, that we're making progress.
Of course.
I think the committee and the work of the committee, and Mona is a co-chair. Mona's been a co-chair for a good number of years now, really steering the committee in lots of ways that we've done things before and steering us in new things going forward, signals to people that we are a welcoming community, and it also allows people to come forward. I mean, there's been many instances where people have asked to meet with me and they want to do an event, but they were afraid to come forward. And, we said, we're here to help you, we'll do this for you, and suddenly these events, just start happening. And people feel more comfortable coming forward when they know there's other people in the community who also may have a little bit of a fear of coming forward. I remember the first year we put up the pride flags on Heatherdale Avenue, and that's going back now 7 years ago. I think we were the first village in Westchester County to do that. Getting an email from a resident, and all the email said was, "Thank you, this is the first time I've ever felt seen in this community." And that's all the feedback I ever needed, was for people to feel seen and safe.
Have there been any incidents of racism or, any kind of issues that you think that the efforts of the community would solve, and like how the community has reacted to any of these issues?
There have been instances, in the community and in the school districts. If this committee could solve those problems, boy, I'd take it to every community in America to figure out how to solve these problems. One of our first community dinners was actually an outgrowth from a swastika being painted on a street sign in the village. And the event was brought to us by a group from the high school called, I think it was Building Bridges. Oh, yeah. And they wanted to do something to address this incident of hate in the community, and that's when we had our first community dinner. That was a very powerful event. Basically what it did is it put people who didn't know each other together in different houses around the village to have dinner. And that was a real, that's the kind of conversation that really makes you know and recognize your neighbors. And it was very powerful when we've done it one time after that, and then we've done sort of different kinds of community conversations after that. But, it helps in a sense that the community can come together when there is something that is hateful that's happened, for people to be able to talk about it and explore what we can do as a community together to try to make it better.
So you mentioned a lot of events and community efforts to bring people together. So my question is which one would you say is your personal favorite? Like any specific event that you thought this just tops my list?
I have learned personally so much from all of these events. I honestly couldn't tell you I had a personal, although I am looking forward to the double Dutch jump roping tomorrow. So at our Juneteenth event, 1 to 3 at it's in the Ardsley Middle School gym. Please come. I don't have a personal favorite. I think all of them are very meaningful. I think all of them, whether 50 people come or 400 people come, they're very impactful. They're impactful for the people who have organized it, and they're impactful for the people who have experienced it.
I don't have a favorite, but we did dance in the Diwali and the Holi events, so
Yes.
maybe that gives it a little edge, but
Yes.
the more participation, the better, and we're looking to make sure that the participation is diverse, because it's easy for people to come and celebrate their own, and the organizers to come and celebrate their own, but our goal is to make sure that people are coming for each other. And we sit at each event and look around and say, yeah, I think we're doing a little better. So that's a constant goal, is for everyone to participate.
Right now in our country, we're in a time where we have an administration that's pretty much just opposite of what you guys are. The administration is just an attack on diversity, an effort to make the country, less diverse, less immigrants, and also just going after diversity programs. How would you speak on that, and if it's been affecting anything that you've been doing?
It's absolutely, positively has not affected. One thing that I would do in the village or with this committee, I think we all need to stand up and recognize that we are a diverse immigrant community, a diverse immigrant nation, and what the federal government is doing, in my personal opinion, is wrong. And I will continue to strive to make Ardsley as welcoming in every way that I can. Ardsley, you know, was one of the 3 locations where asylum seekers were brought 2 years ago. And the community, with open arms, welcomed them and really provided a pathway for them for a better life. And if more people knew about that experience, they would understand that this fear of immigration that is being pounded into us by the federal government is absolutely wrong.
I agree. I mean, I know organizations that receive federal funding have to backpedal and stop dead in their tracks what they've been doing in terms of DEI, and some have stood up to it and some can't because they're too worried about their funding. But thankfully, we're not dependent on them for anything. And the Ardsley Multicultural Diversity and Inclusion Committee remains strong. So.
I think you already talked about the importance of diversity in a community, but what is one message you would like to give out to other communities, especially in the current condition of the country? Like, what is something you would want in every community of the country?
I would tell them not to be afraid, and I would be more than happy to help them form their own diversity and inclusion committee. Or they could just keep coming to Ardsley to celebrate the diversity throughout the entire river towns. But we can't be afraid.
I agree. I think we are setting a model for some other communities, and local people who have heard about it are curious and have called and asked us, how did we get started? You know, how do we get this work done? And I think, you know, we're still learning ourselves, but I think that we have a very strong foundation and great support from our village administration, so we're fortunate.
I think it's also important to remember that this committee is community-driven. These events don't happen. The committee, the co-chairs, they don't organize these events. It's community-driven. People in the community come to us and say, this is what we would like to do. This is what we'd like to go out there and do. So that in and of itself gives the committee more strength, because people are recognizing that they also need to come in and help us celebrate and not be afraid.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on here with us today. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I hope that more communities in Westchester and across New York State celebrate diversity like we do in Ardsley. It has actually been state recognized, our committee, by Andrea Stewart Cousins and others in the highest levels of the state government, and by our county executive, Ken Jacobs. He often comes to our events, and David Imamura. They often come to our events. And I think from experiencing our events here in Ardsley, they are seeing what can really happen in other places in Westchester as well.
Yeah, and I applaud you for initiating this conversation. Thank you.
I would like to add on with the thing of diversity. We are also holding an event. It is a multicultural street fair in Hartsdale. It is a project we started as our interns at Greenburgh under the town supervisor. So I would like to ask everyone to attend it. It's near the Hartsdale train station on the 21st, Saturday, and we're going to have a diverse cuisines from Hartsdale Avenue to celebrate
Nice, very
diversity.
nice.
That's very nice.
Good luck.
Good luck. I actually will be there.
I'll give you a flyer. On the way.
Okay. I actually already have it in my calendar. But I'd like to see you there tomorrow in Ardsley at the middle school.
Sure. That's pretty much it.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.